Hello everyone, it's FiQ again, and today I'm going to be showcasing my most recent, version of Virus Imperialdramon. And again, I think the deck now is insanely strong simply just because of the new Fire mode being an absolutely cracked card, because of the fact that it's basically a Crimson Blaze on legs, along with the fact that it can easily just remove bodies with the EX3 fighter, along with just this one being able to kind of clear up your board after you do the whole combo and stuff. And again, the deck list doesn't really change all that much from my previous video, but there are some minor changes here and there that I did make, and I kind of want to explain some of the stuff. And again, there are all other stuff that I kind of want to mention about the deck in this most recent list, so we can just go do that. And if you do like my content, again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really does mean a lot. Now let's just get straight into the video. So my in trainings is of course just the Digimon. You kind of do need this just for the BT16 Wormmon, but overall it's still a really solid card just because again when attacking you trash a card if the Digimon's multicolored to delete level 3, which is nice. And the fact that again it just fills up your trash, so pretty good overall. The X3 Mon I still run that for just because of the fact that it's still a really good card. You discard one to draw 2. And obviously you really want that, and the DP buff is always really good just because that way it makes your big fire mode a little bit stronger, up to like potentially 17k, and maybe even a little bit more depending on if you want other DP buffs. But more or less just you want to see this at 4, I think, for the most part. And of course I still run the BT60 Wormmon at 4 just because it's your main combo starter for a lot of stuff. Obviously you mostly want to pair it with the promo Shadramon so you can spit out another rookie. And I think the when attacking Inherit is also really helpful. Helps you get over like say really annoying blockers that say your fire mode or dragon mode can't get over, so I think it's just really solid over there. And of course 4 of the EX3 Wormmon just because it's another really good soldier, and the retaliation is also really nice. Now moving on to the champions, I only won the EX3 Flamethrower at 2 because frankly I do also run the Shadra EX3 at 4, and I think like for the most part I see like these guys enough to the point where I think cutting this down just to 2 is fine enough. And obviously the promo Shadramon at 4 just because it's a really good call for the deck, helps you spit out your rookies to enable your DNA plays, and unfortunately I think you do need 4. And I actually started running one of the new X3 just because it can kill floodgates, which is really nice on Evo or on play. And the fact that it has a pretty similar effect to the EX3 line where you can just DNA. The only downside is that it doesn't have the other effect of you can Evo one of your other guys for its cost, but it doesn't really matter. Kills floodgates, which is really nice because the deck wants to play stuff by effect, and it does have a DNA effect, but both guys has to be on board. But I don't think that's a really big issue for the most part, because say if you have Evo into Shadra on top of one of your guys, play out the rookie, and then just Evo into this guy, it still works out in the end. So overall, still a solid effect. If you wanted to, you could say lower some of the EX3 line down to play more of this and the other Stingmon. You could, but for now I think my list is fine enough as it is, and I don't really mind the 1. And the Inherit is plus 2k on your turn, which is also really helpful again to help you get over really big stuff. Now moving on to my ultimates, and this is like the most weirdest part of the deck for me honestly, because the ratios for these can vary depending on the player, but I think for the most part these ratios are fine for me, so let's get into it. I only want one of the EX3 Imperialdramon, the when DNA effect. You can play a Dino B. Since I only of course these are my main Dino Bs, I still want to see it sometimes just because again it plays out your level 5, and sometimes you just don't have the Dino B for whatever reason, so this is fine. I run 6 Dino Bs, so it's still again really good for that. And the Annihilation, you're not really going to get all that much just because for the most part you'd rather just DNA into your Dragon mode, so there's that. And the Inherit is also nice just because again extra damage. And I won 2 of this Imperialdramon just because of the fact that you could do some funny stuff with say this Dino B where you play out this guy, give this guy plus 4k and also piercing, and then ray over something, which is really nice. So there's that. And the Inherit is again same thing as this, except that it's generic, and this one wholly works on Imperialdramons, but it doesn't really matter for the deck anyways, just because again your top end is pretty much just that. And of course another 4 of the Dino B from BT16. Obviously if you DNA, you play out a level 5 lower free trait, and then you may attack, and you also could get rush, which is also really solid just because sometimes you do want to swing with this guy, delete something, And even if it dies, you do have the protection effect from these guys, where if one of your guys would be deleted, you obviously DNA into a dragon mode, which is also really helpful. And honestly, I think this Dino B is also really solid. The BT20 one that on play or when Digivolving, you grab back at Virus Imperialdramon, which I think is just really good, just because say if you on accident trash a piece you need in your hand, you can obviously just grab it back with this off the Dino B effect, which is also really good. And the inherit being able to stop any security effects and options is just really good, and it makes it even more annoying for your opponent to actually kind of hope they hit something security. So obviously you want to run this. You could maybe run this at like 3 or something, but I think 2 for me is just fine. Now we move on to the megas. Obviously I won 3 of the new fighter mode. Absolutely insane card. You know, again, Virus Fighter is just a Crimson Blaze on legs, which is really good. And then you're always going to have the Dragon mode and also trash for security, which is really good. This really combos well with the EX3 Dragon mode, which I want at full. So because that way you'd be able to clear board really easily, because this would obviously, it kind of wrecks wide boards, and then this would pretty much clean up almost anything else. And obviously I only won this at 3 just because I think, you know, having 4 is way too much, and I think 3 is the perfect amount. And I see this almost all the time. Obviously there are stuff, you know, we just don't see it, but sometimes it is what it is. And the all tones, when a security stack is removed, delete something with less TP is also really funny sometimes. Depending on the matchup, like say if you're facing a yellow deck with burial or something and they trash the security, oh look, you get to delete it, which is really funny. But obviously sometimes it just depends, but usually you're triggering this on your whole combo line, so you know, for the most part you're just gonna see it in that case. And I do like it has weight and piercing, kind of just eliminates the original Dino B from EX3 and kind of just says, yeah, no, just screw off the old fire mode. So I think this one's just clearly better. Then obviously I won 4 of the EX3 Dragon mode. I think this one is your main one, just because of the fact, again, it clears boards, you have blitz, and that way you can almost guarantee to do 2 damage for the most part, because you know you're trashing security with this guy and then you're attacking with this guy, and obviously it's your main one. And the way attacking to obviously go into fire mode for its cost is really good, and you want to see this as much as possible. And the ace, I only won at 2 because I think it's still fine enough because of the fact that it deletes an 11k or less, and then if you DNA with it, you get the fire mode. So say if you just have all your fire modes trash for whatever reason, you can still just evo it from trash, so you still be able to get the floodgate effect, which is still really solid. Now we move on to the final part of the deck list, where I just showcase staying with an option, and in my case I won 2 BT1 tie just for the extra damage. It's actually very funny. I was actually trying out 1 tie and 1 BT2 mat, but then the mat got banned on the ban list, so I was like, okay, let's just swap over to a second tie. And I kind of just like this one because of the fact that it gives you extra damage, and I think, you know, like sometimes you just don't see either Pyodramon, so having say a tamer just sit there to give you the extra check can be really nice, because in my cases there was a lot of situations where I'd rather just see this Dino B and this Dino B, so I think that's just nice overall to guarantee an extra check here and there for my tamer. And I went for youth, of course, just because that way I can help search out my deck, and the fact that it puts stuff in trash is also really good as well. And you know, it's 2 costs, so that's just really solid overall. And the fact that, you know, you say when your level 5 or higher is deleted, you spend it to hatch a Digi-Egg and gain a memory, so obviously that's just fantastic. And in my case, I actually won 3 scrambles. I don't rely on this as much, but this can be kind of helpful, because say if you get board wipe and you just don't have anything, you could just, you know, put Digimon on top of your deck and draw it. And obviously this can help you set up your combo. Say, you know, obviously you do the whole scramble thing. If you have like a BT16 1-1 trash, you obviously play it, go into Shadra, and then hopefully do your whole combo like that. So obviously I think this is fine enough, and sometimes you do hit in security, so that way you can just play out an extra rookie, and if your opponent can't delete it, then that's just easy combo setup for you. And I don't want purple memory boost because I think the deck is consistent enough to the point where like I didn't really need it. And for me, I think the extra memory could be nice, but like you usually just want to pass on your fighting mode stuff anyways, so it's not the biggest deal for me, but overall you could still run it, I just don't. Now we go over the recommended codes. Obviously if you want to see my older video, you still could. For the most part, it's like those codes plus this, so again, go check it out. But if you still want to, you could still run the new Digimon. If this Digimon has 4 more sources, get plus 2k, which doesn't sound all that bad. The only downside I think is that your BG16 Warmon would cost 1, but it's another 2k buff. So again, if you want to, you could go do that. And then we have the 2 new rookies from BD20, the Warmon and the Digimon. And honestly, the reason I don't really want them is just because they don't really benefit to my gameplay all that much. But I could see the value if you do want to run them at say 1. The Digimon is your turn when any of your purple Digimon are played. You can evo into a free Digimon for 1, cost less, and I think that's still fine just because you can go into say your Flame Draw, your Shade Draw, even the Promo Shade Draw if you want to, and even the XV, so that way you can help combo with your DNA. And the 2k buff is kind of nice, but I don't really think you need it nearly as much, and you do have other ways to do it. And this one, I actually think this one might just be slightly better than the Digimon for the most part, because it actually trashes a card in your hand, so that way you can help filter out your hand, put stuff in trash, and one of your opponent's Digimon gain on deletion lose a memory, which actually can become helpful with your full combo if you do decide to just go up the entire line, delete, and get extra memory back to hopefully like choke, because the memory plays can be a little bit expensive, especially if you like say pass turn and then say if they have a memory settle and you say put them to 4, obviously the deletion of the other Digimon would put them back to 3. So overall, that's a little bit nicer than the Vmon in my opinion. Then we also have the Stingmon. This is pretty much similar to the XV that I had, but instead just deletes level 3. So for the most part, it does the same thing, except this one can kill Lucemon and the other one can't, but doesn't really matter all that much. And retaliation is fine, but it's not the greatest just because you also do have retaliation in other aspects. And you could also run some aces in level 7s, and in this case, let's go for Gabumon. Agumon ace, not Gabumon, but this one's delete something with a DP equal or less than this, which is kind of nice. I think it's, obviously it sets up, since you can go into your level 6 really easily, this can just sit there, and then you counter with this, your opponent's not expecting it, and it's kind of removal and trash security, so that's pretty good if you have a Tamer, but in most cases you're going to have a Tamer. Then we also have Blast Mode, similar situation where you basically delete a Digimon, and then, that's really solid. And the when attacking, pretty much similar thing, you bomb deck your stuff instead of like having a Tamer where you trash your security. So obviously these two are pretty much just here for, extra deletion, and, you sit on your level 6s fairly easily, so they're just here for that, just for a surprise ace jump scale. Then we also have the Star Deck Mat from Star Deck 16. This is nice just because you do trash cards quite often, so that way you can gain extra memory, and that's pretty much it if you don't want to run the PT for a tie. And then we have the Emperor Dragon of Calamity, where it's made you may play a free trade Digimon for 5 less, and then place it into your battle area, and then the delay when your opponent's security stack is removed, you can play a pile draw from your fire mode, which is kind of nice. I can't really see it happen all that much. The only benefit you get if you have the ace in the source, so that way you can just delete something else. But for the most part, it's not the greatest thing in my mind. You could have run it at 1. I was actually testing at 1 at some point, and it was fine. But again, I don't think you need it. And the security effect is you can play a level 3 with free trait from your hand trash without paying cost. So that means you can play like a Vmon for free, or say a Warmon, hopefully the XP one, so you can get a Surge. Overall, fine card, I just don't think you need it. And that pretty much is my new updated version of Virus Imperialdramon. And you pretty much do the same exact stuff as you were doing before, but now you kind of just a little bit more aggressive, along with the fact that you get, again, an insane mega in terms of the new fire mode. And honestly, again, I still think the deck's really fun, and I do think now it is kind of annoying to deal with just because of, again, fire mode being such an amazing card. But again, it's still really fun, and again, I do really wish the Shade Draw was cheaper, just because for anyone who's willing to want to try the deck, that way, it'd be a little bit more accessible. And I do think that the deck is also really like flexible in what ratios you want to run for stuff. Obviously, you can include the new stuff, you could, change around your level 5 ratios, and I think the deck really could see some really nice experimentation here and there. And overall, I just think, again, it's really fun, and definitely one of my favorite purple decks out there, other than like Balbumon, for example. And I want to hear what you guys think about the deck. Let me know in the comments below. And again, if you liked my video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I really hope you guys stay tuned for my future videos. Now, signing off, and also I do have a Discord server, so if you guys want to join that, it'll be linked in the description down below. Again, now finally, see you guys later.